Okay, so this guide is on terminal for Windows users. Um, and so I'm assuming you watched the short introduction to what the terminal is. And if you are on Windows 10, um, it's a little more difficult because you don't really have a terminal. What you have immediately is called a command prompt. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like just so that you don't get confused. So if you see something like this, a window like this, it says command prompt, and it has Microsoft Windows and some version there. This is wrong. So you want to close out of this and run away very fast because most of the commands that I talked about in the previous Mac video are applicable. They're all applicable once we get our terminal environment working, but they're not applicable in the command prompt. For example, ls, which listed files and directories and files within a particular current working directory, doesn't work. So if you see anything that's like it's not recognized, or if you see the word command prompt, close it because it's no good. I mean, it's fine, but it's not good. It's not what we want. So what we want instead is we want a real terminal. And sometimes you'll have this, you'll see it called like bash or something, or these are different types of terminal environments. But the one that I picked and the one that I use on Windows is Ubuntu, which is we call them flavor of Linux. But you don't really need to worry about that. Generally, you just need to worry about being able to get that environment up and working. So if you're starting from scratch, the best thing to do on Windows 10 is if you Google Windows 10 Linux subsystem, it's going to be the first item here. Choose that, and then it's like a bunch of these instructions here. Like before installing any Linux distros, you must ensure that Windows subsystem for Linux optional feature is enabled. Open PowerShell as administrator and run this. So copy this here. And then what you want to do is open up PowerShell. So if you type the word PowerShell and you right click on it, you can run it as administrator. And then you'll get something that says, do you want to do this? And you say yes. And now you have another thing that kind of looks like that command that I told you to run away from. And what you want to do there is just paste. So you already copied that, you paste this. Once you paste it and you run it, you'll restart, and then you will have enabled this feature that enables you to then install Ubuntu, which is this flavor of Linux I talked about. And to do that, you just go to the Microsoft Store and you can search for Ubuntu. And then once you see that and you find it, there's a few. Just take the first one. Yeah, and it's even advertising to you, right? So owned. So take this first one here and install it. Once you install it, you'll need to restart. But once you restart, you should be all good, and you should be able to then run Ubuntu, which is if you just type UB, it will run and it will open up. And here's what you have. Your colors will look different. They'll look worse. My colors are great. Because my colors are the real Ubuntu colors, and I chose that because I went to Google and I typed Windows 10 Ubuntu colors, and actually there's a post on medium.com here that tells you how to do this, how to get your color scheme looking like really great. And so anyway, so this is what it looks like. People pay a lot of attention to this. I mentioned it in some of my articles too. You may not care. If you don't care, you don't need to do that. It's not going to impact anything other than how you feel. So one thing that's a little bit different is in the introduction to the terminal, I talked about, well, this is how the command prompt is structured. In Ubuntu, it's structured a little bit differently. The username is first, and then followed by an @sign, then followed by the name of the computer, and then you have everything after that is the same. So the colon here, and then you have the tilde, which is the working directory, and then the $, which indicates that commands come after that. In the Mac intro that I gave, I talked a lot about what the home directory, the tilde, meant, and that is the home directory. And I did quite a few commands, like pwd for print working directory, and that working directory is my home directory here, which is represented by a tilde, and it's only represented by a tilde if it's your home directory. And my home directory is /home/Christian. The one thing I want to show you here, and so go ahead and watch the Mac video at this point. You should watch the Mac video if you're curious about commands to move around the terminal. But if you're still, you still need to, in order to get through that whole Mac video, you've got to make it to your desktop. And if you're on a PC, getting to your desktop is kind of strange because I'm like home Christian, that's where I am. I type ls, and then I see I had made some files here, but they don't correspond to my desktop. I have no idea where my desktop is. This seems like a completely different world because it is. So it's a virtual computer. Basically, it's a virtual operating system running within your operating system, which happens to be Windows. So you have Windows running Unix. It's mega meta. So what we need to do, and we can do, is we can, we actually have a link. There's a link to our C drive, right? There's a link to our desktop. And the way that you access this is it's through a mount folder. And so that folder happens to be cd to change directory. I'll do /mnt, and I hit a tab just to kind of finish off the next /c, because I know it's my C drive. Hit tab again. I hit double tab just to see what's in there, and like this looks much better, right? I see my users directory, capital U for users, hit tab, US, hit tab, tab again, Chris, I guess that's what my user folder is called, hit tab, double tab again to see all the files that are in that, and my desktop, which is capital D, double tab, and then hit enter, and now my current working directory is here, which is /mnt /c /users /chris /desktop. This is different than if you're a PC user, which you are if you're watching this. This is different than what you're used to, because you'll never find /mnt as a directory on your computer. Ubuntu makes this for you as an operating system in order to give you kind of a link. I think of it as a virtual link into the file system, into your Windows file system. So now I'm here, I can hit ls, and you see all these folders and files that are on my desktop, and I can use the clear command, and I can do the mkdir command to make a folder called applab, and I made that, and I can cd app, hit tab once, I'm in there, I can mkdir and make lab1, made that, and then I can cd to lab1, I hit a tab, I'm done. I can ls, I can do a touch, lab1.js, made that file. I could even do vim, lab, not even L, hit tab, enter, and I can use vim. I can press I to insert, I can say console.log, and then maybe say, I can't believe I just did that, hello world, and then escape again, :Q, save the file out. I can, since I've already installed Node, I can say node, lab, hit tab, enter, and run my code, right? But in the process, if I look at my desktop, I also have, also be able to see that I have, on my desktop, I have a folder called applab that was just made, lab1, and I have a lab1.js file. I can right click on that. I can open it with whatever I also happen to have here. I can open it with VS Code, which is what we're using here, and see my code right there. And I may decide that, because I don't want to use Vim, and I'd much rather use this because I think the colors look better. And also it's more useful. Anyway, I hope this was helpful.